Welcome to the Wealth Wisdom, where money has history and knowledge becomes power.
There is an empire you cannot see. No flag, no borders, no armies marching in the streets. Yet, it has conquered almost the entire world. It decides which nations rise and which nations collapse. It decides who becomes wealthy and who spends their entire life struggling. It reaches into your home, your job, your bank account, your future. And this empire runs on one simple idea: compound interest. A mathematical force so powerful that Albert Einstein is said to have called it the eighth wonder of the world. But like all wonders, its power depends on who controls it. Because compound interest can build wealth, yes, but it can also build chains of debt, chains of obligation, chains of labor, and the most shocking part? Most people have no idea they are part of this system. They just wake up, go to work, earn a paycheck, pay their bills, pay their loans, pay their taxes, and wonder why they never seem to move forward. Today, we are going to uncover how compound interest became the invisible architecture of the global economy, and how human labor became the fuel that keeps it running. This is the story of how wealth stopped being earned and became something extracted. The world before interest. To understand how we got here, we have to go back to a time before banks, before mortgages, before credit cards, a time when wealth was real. Wealth was land. Wealth was livestock. Wealth was gold and silver. Trade was simple. You want grain? You trade wool. You need tools. You exchange metal. Debt did exist, but it was temporary, personal, and social. It had limits, but everything changed the moment humanity discovered a new idea. Money itself could generate more money, not through work, not through trade, not through effort, but simply through time. That idea didn't take over quickly. It spread slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. The first spark: ancient moneylenders. Over 4,000 years ago, in ancient Mesopotamia, farmers would borrow seeds for planting. After the harvest, they returned the seeds, plus a portion of the crops. At first, the system was fair, but as society became more complex, something new emerged. Debt became recorded. Clay tablets, stored in temples, backed by rulers. Debt was no longer personal. It became institutional, and suddenly, if you couldn't repay, you didn't just lose grain. You could lose your land, your family, your freedom. Debt was no longer just obligation. Debt became control. And where there is control, there is power. Interest becomes a tool of power. Fast forward to ancient Rome. Rome developed a full banking system: lending, borrowing, currency, interest. But Rome discovered something dangerous. When interest grows faster than the economy, debt becomes impossible to repay. Farmers lost land. Citizens lost autonomy. People fell into slavery, not through war, but through interest. The problem was so widespread, Rome passed laws to limit interest. But by then, the empire was already built on debt. And once a system is built on debt, removing interest is like removing the foundation of a building. It all collapses. The shift: lending to governments. For thousands of years, loans were between individuals. Then something world-changing happened. Banks began lending to kings and governments and entire nations. This changed everything. A farmer can fail to repay. A shopkeeper can fail. But a king will not default, because a king can raise taxes, seize property, or send the citizens to war. Debt became risk-free, and banking families became more powerful than rulers. The Medici, the Fuggers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans. They didn't need to sit on thrones. They owned the thrones, not through armies, but through interest. They discovered the fundamental truth of the modern world. Money isn't valuable because of what it is. Money is valuable because of who owes it. The Industrial Revolution. Turning human life into collateral. The Industrial Revolution brought something completely new. Humans became employees. Work became measurable. Hours, wages, productivity. Which meant something else became measurable: future labor. This opened the door to a new kind of debt. Mortgages, car loans, student loans, credit cards. Every one of these loans is based on the same assumption: you will keep working. Your future labor is the collateral. Not the house, not the degree, not the car. You. And because interest compounds, the debt grows faster than your ability to repay it. This is not an accident. This is the system. The formula behind the hidden empire money is loaned. Interest is charged. The interest compounds. To pay it, you must work. But wages do not rise at the same rate as interest, which means the average person must work harder every year just to stay in the same place. This is why people work full-time and still struggle. Savings lose value. Retirement drifts farther away. It's not because people are irresponsible. It's because the system was designed this way. Debt grows. Labor chases it. Banks collect. The breaking point, when money became infinite. For most of history, debt was limited by gold, a finite resource. But in 1971, the U.S. ended the gold standard. The rest of the world followed. Money no longer needed gold. It only needed belief. Now, money could be created instantly by typing numbers into a screen. And with it, debt became limitless. And interest? Permanent. This triggered the greatest transfer of wealth in human history. Not from poor to rich, but from workers to owners. From labor to capital. Today, the empire in full view global debt has surpassed 300 trillion. Household debt is at record levels almost everywhere. Mortgages take 30 to 40 years to repay. Student loans can last longer than marriages. Credit card interest can double a balance in months. Meanwhile, wages have barely increased in decades. This isn't mismanagement. This isn't coincidence. This is the system, working exactly as designed. You produce, you work, you pay, they collect, they own, they expand. No military needed, just interest. Why attempts to fix the system? Fail. Governments try. Higher minimum wages, welfare programs, debt relief proposals, tax reforms. But none of these touch the core problem. The entire global economy is dependent on debt growing forever. If debt stops growing, the system collapses. So every crisis is solved the same way. Print more money. Create more debt. The cure is always more of the disease. The real cost? Human life. A child today is born into national debt, environmental debt, financial debt before they take their first breath. This is not just an economic system. This is a time extraction system. It does not just take money. It takes years of human life. 3 takeaways. The financial system runs on compound interest, not productivity. Those who hold capital gain more capital. Those who work stay trapped in the cycle. Debt creates dependency. The borrower must keep working, year after year, to keep the system alive. The system persists because people believe it is natural. The greatest form of control is the control we don't see. A warning: debt is growing faster than the world can produce. Wages cannot keep up. The cost of living is rising everywhere. Every empire built on extraction eventually reaches a breaking point. The question is not if. The question is when. And when that moment comes, there will be 2 types of people: those who understand the system and those who are crushed by it. Knowledge determines which side you end up on. If this opened your eyes, stay with this journey. Share this video. Comment your thoughts. Subscribe for more deep, uncomfortable truths. Because once you see the invisible empire, you can begin to step outside of it. The first step is awareness. The second step is reclaiming your time, your labor, your future, your value. The empire only works when we don't see it. Now you do. So the real question is, what will you do with that vision?